Students, welcome to this class. We will be talking about Bohr's model of an atom. In the previous video, you have seen there are some certain evidences in favor of wave nature of matter, and there are certain evidences which supports particle nature. So we have come to the conclusion that the matter is having dual character. Developments leading towards the Bohr model of an atom also involves spectral studies. Now you may probably think that how is that spectral atomic spectra or spectrum is leading Bohr to develop his model of an atom. So let us take this in detail. Like in the previous video we have seen that what is Planck's quantum theory and the existence of quanta or packet or bundle of energy which can be radiated by an electron on absorption or emission. So when electromagnetic radiation is interacting with the matter, the electron might absorb energy and it will go to the higher energy level. On returning to its normal state or the lower energy state, it will radiate energy which will form electromagnetic spectrum. Now, as in the last video you have seen, this could be in the ultraviolet region, visible region or in the infrared region. This study of a spectrum of different matter is called spectroscopy, and the instrument used for it is called spectroscope. Spectrum of every element is unique. Like see, we all human beings have different fingerprints. So atomic spectrum or say spectrum of any element is its fingerprint because it is different for each element. Now let us see atomic spectra. How is it formed? As I've told you just now, when electron jumps amongst energy level in an atom, energy is emitted or absorbed in the form of electromagnetic radiation. And these are producing particular lines of particular frequency, forming what is known as atomic spectra. An atom has a discrete spectra, that is, you will get specific lines of energy transition with discrete energy gaps. This is known as quantized spectra or line spectra. Let me tell you in a simple word. If there are certain lines formed from one energy level to another energy level, that can be termed as line spectra. Whereas another type of spectra is continuous spectra where there is no specific lines. That means that one is color or one bright side is overlapping the other. So that will be continuous spectra. Let us see this. Now we can say types of spectra are of two types, emission and absorption. Emission will be when the energy will be emitted. Absorption will be when the energy will be absorbed by the electron. So emission spectra is given when energy is supplied to a sample, right? And absorption spectra when energy is absorbed by the sample. Okay, it is just opposite of emission spectra. So if you will see, this is one from your CBSE book, you will see, you can understand it very well that this one is the emission spectra. So here you can see this is the bright side and this is all the dark side. Okay, and this is the excited sample which is taken in the spectroscope. This is the main part of the spectroscope, prism. You know that prism can form a spectrum, and here is the detector where we can see the type of spectra formed. So in this, whatever is the bright side, in the absorption spectra, that will be the dark, and whatever was the dark in the emission spectra, that will be bright in the absorption spectra. That means one is the negative of the other, you can say that. So this kind of spectras are formed. Now there is nothing to take worry about that how will you understand what type of spectra is formed. Actually we are going to talk about hydrogen spectrum, and we will see that how hydrogen spectrum was very well explained by Bohr model of an atom, and how can we relate that with the atomic structure. So that is our matter of interest. These atomic spectra, as I've just told you, that If we explain atomic spectra, that means we are explaining structure of atom. How? Because atomic spectra is unique for an element and every element is having unique configuration. So ultimately spectra is related to the atomic structure of that particular element. So that is why we are calling it as a fingerprint. Now Robert Bunsen was the first one to investigate these line spectra to identify elements. You will come whenever you come to the chemistry lab, you will get to know see that Bunsen burner, and that is dedicated for the name to Robert Bunsen. Elements like rubidium, cesium, indium, gallium, scandium all were discovered by spectroscopic methods, and even helium was discovered in the sun by spectroscopic method. Because you are whenever we want to identify the element, then we have to see its atomic spectra. Suppose I say that I have discovered one new element, Jagrati, but how can I confirm that it is a new element? I have to see the atomic spectra. If it is not telling with any of the element existing, it means that it is a new element, and of course that has to be a pure substance. Now let us see atomic or the line spectrum of hydrogen. Now this is something you need to understand very well, because if we can explain, or any model of atom can explain atomic spectra, then it can be very well related to the correct structure of atom existing, right? So first we will see how is the atomic spectrum of hydrogen look like. Why we are taking hydrogen here? Because hydrogen is having only one electron, so that will be the simplest spectrum. So when we do electric discharge through hydrogen gas, hydrogen molecules will dissociate into hydrogen atoms. These atoms will emit electromagnetic radiations of definite frequencies while coming to the lower energy levels. Electrons, while coming to the lower energy level, will emit some particular frequency radiations, and that will form multiple series or hydrogen spectrum. Now let me elaborate this a bit more. If the hydrogen atom electron is excited to say 7th orbit, then from 7th orbit, if it is coming back to the first orbit, then or from the 6th to the first orbit, then it will form up one particular type of series, that is called Lyman series. But if it is coming back to the second orbit, that is if it is coming back from 7th to 2nd, 6th to 2nd, or say 4th to 2nd, then it will form a different series, that is called Balmer series. So like that, coming to the different ground level or the lower energy state, it will form a different series. Now you can say that hydrogen spectrum, you are getting so many lines in one series, but or I am giving you an example, coming back from 17 to 7 to first, 6 to first, but hydrogen is having only one electron. So how so many lines are being formed here? This is a probable question which might come to your mind. But see, when we take a sample of hydrogen gas, and when these gas molecules dissociate to form atoms, there will be thousands of atoms in the sample of the gas. And these atoms, each atom will have one electron, and each atom will not be absorbing the same amount of energy. So electron might excite to 7th, 6th, or some other level, right? And when it comes back to first level, so each line is actually representing a different atom of hydrogen, because each hydrogen atom is having one electron, and there are so many lines seen because there are so many atoms of hydrogen in the sample under investigation. So overall we get 5 series of lines which corresponds to the lower level as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 respectively, and these series are known as Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, Brackett and Fund series. So we have 5 series. Now you can see here all the 5. If the ground level is 1, that is electron excited to higher level is coming from higher level to 1 level, it will be Lyman series. Coming to the second is the Balmer. You can see here colored arrows are used because Balmer is found in the visible region. Lyman is found in ultraviolet region. and other 3 are found in infrared region. And if the lower level is third, then that is known as Paschen, fourth is bracket, and fifth is Fund series. All these are named as per the scientists who have seen these series in the hydrogen spectrum. Here is a pictorial representation, a picture representation of electron coming to the first level forming Lyman series, coming to the second level forming Balmer series, and so on. So this will give you one kind of imagination that the electron getting excited to higher energy level and coming back forming a particular kind of line spectrum, and that is why this is known as atomic or the line spectrum of hydrogen. Now in this, the Balmer series, which is found in the visible region, was identified by Balmer in 1885, and he analyzed that when the electron comes to the second level, the Balmer series is formed, right? He analyzed this and he has deduced a formula. At this point of time in the spectroscopy, there was a lot of work done by Rydberg. Why I am taking Balmer's name here specifically? Because Balmer's work was coinciding the Rydberg's work completely. Balmer has given an equation that the wavelength of hydrogen spectrum lines we can find by the formula 1 by lambda is equal to RH 1 upon 2 square minus 1 upon n square. Now 2 square, because in the Balmer series this value is 2. The electron is coming to the ground level, which is 2. The Rydberg's constant value is also fixed. In centimeter, if I say, it will be RH is equal to 10973 centimeter inverse. Okay. Here it is given in meter, and n is here, n is any integral value corresponding to different values of n. This was a general equation given by Balmer. Now this generalized equation is the same which was given, as I have told you, by Rydberg. This equation is, you will see, it is same like Balmer. If you put the value of f, nf is equal to 2, then it becomes the Balmer equation, right? So 1 by lambda is equal to RH 1 upon nf square minus 1 upon ni square. This is the Rydberg's formula, or a generalized Balmer formula, you can say now. For Balmer series, if you put nf will be 2, for Lyman this will become 1. Whenever a transition occurs between a state Ni to another state Nf, okay, so Ni will always be greater than Nf because it is coming to the lower state. So a photon is emitted, and that photon will have some frequency which is corresponding to one line, and that frequency will be given by the difference in the energy level. If you will put simple formula of what we have learned in Planck's quantum theory, del E is equal to h nu. Okay, or E by h is equal to frequency. So that frequency is corresponding to del E by h. Okay, so this is how we are relating the difference in energy when the electron is showing, whatever the electron is showing, and we can relate that to the frequency and ultimately to the wavelength as well. Sorry. So now for hydrogen line spectrum, Lyman series NF will be 1. So I am putting here 1 because the final state is 1 square minus 1 upon Ni square. Now this will be always be greater than this one. No? Here for the Balmer it will be 2 square. For the Paschen 3 square, 4 square, 5 square. Here for example, now take Fund series. We are taking 1 by lambda is equal to RH. 1 by 5 square minus 1 upon Ni square. This could be, Ni could be 6, 7, 8. And suppose since it is reciprocal 1 by lambda. So if I want to calculate the shortest wavelength of any series, then I have to take Ni as the infinity. How far it is coming, that will gives me the shortest wavelength. Now, as I've told you, we are studying hydrogen spectrum because it is the simplest of all. For heavier elements, obviously the line spectra will become more and more complicated. With one electron, we are getting 5 series, right? But we know that line spectrum of each element is unique, and Bohr model was very successful in explaining hydrogen spectrum. So, let us see Bohr model for hydrogen atom. Now see, Bohr model of hydrogen atom we have to take things, already half of the things children at the level of 11 they know, but you have to understand it in on what conceptual basis it was given, and in the form of the model of atom it was given by Bohr. Like the electron in the hydrogen atom will move around the nucleus in the circular path that you people are knowing, and that orbit number is actually known as n, which was later designated as principal quantum number. If n is equal to 1 means I am talking about the first orbit. If n is equal to 2, that means I am talking about the principal quantum number 2, that is the second orbit. And if say I randomly say n is equal to 6, that means I am talking about the sixth orbit. And the energy of the electron does not change with time. That was the biggest difference between the Rutherford and the Bohr model. Here the electron will lose energy or will gain energy only when it will leave its orbit. And that difference in energy can be given by E2 minus E1. Suppose electron is going from first to third orbit, then obviously third orbit is having more energy. So obviously the electron will require some energy. If you have to cross 19th floor through staircase, you will require some energy, right? So energy will be supplied. On the contrary, if the electron comes from the third level to the first level, it will give extra amount of energy. That energy will be given in the terms of photon, as I have just explained you. So del E is equal to h nu. That Planck's equation will be applied here to find out the change in energy, that is delta E. So electron does not radiate energy or give energy all the time moving its orbit. It absorbs energy or it emits energy only when it leaves its orbit. Until and unless it is in its own orbit, the energy of the electron is fixed. This is known as quantization of energy. This concept is known as quantization of energy, and here the energy radiation is in the form of fixed energy. It is not in the continuous manner. Another important point of Bohr's model of atom is, as I have told you just now, that this frequency, using the Planck's quantum theory, what frequency radiation will be given when electron leaves its orbit, can be given by the formula frequency is equal to del E by h. We have just seen in case of spectrum, spectral lines of particular frequency being formed. Then Bohr was very much successful in explaining the angular momentum of an electron. See, momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Angular momentum will be equals to mass into velocity into r, that is radius. In any stationary orbit is integral multiple of nh by 2 pi, that is a constant or the quantum condition. And here n value will be always be a whole number, that is 1, 2, 3. Me will be the mass of the electron, v is the velocity of the electron, r is the radius of the orbit in which the electron is moving. Now this formula is given for the angular momentum of an electron, which is an integral multiple of a fixed condition. So it means that the angular momentum is also quantized. So electron will emit or absorb radiations, or it will do transition only over the quantized value of angular momentum. This is a very important point to understand. Now, when we apply this Bohr's model, all these points what I have explained you, to hydrogen spectrum, or hydrogen atom, how was Bohr able to give information about hydrogen atom? Bohr was able to calculate radii of stationary states, that is orbits. Rn is equal to n square a naught. N is again the principal quantum number, that is the orbit number, right? So if I want to find out the radius of the first orbits, then Rn will be R1 is equal to 1 ka square a naught. And a naught value given by Bohr was 52.9 picometers. So the radius of the first orbit will be 52.9, and that will be the fixed radius. Bohr was also able to calculate the energy of these orbits. The success of Bohr's model lies into the mathematical aspect of the atomic structure, in a way that the orbit which is assumed to exist as a stationary state in an atom which is very small. Its radii and its energy was also given by Bohr mathematically. So Bohr derived the formula En is equal to minus RH 1 upon n square. N will be again the orbit number. N always stands for the principal quantum number, that is the orbit number. Here RH in the terms of joule is given as minus RH is 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 joules. So if you want to find out the energy of the first orbit, you will get value of RH as the energy of the first orbit, because 1 upon 1 square will be 1 only. So like this you can find out the energy of the various orbits. Here the minus sign is simply indicating, take it in a simple way, it is reciprocal, no? En is equal to minus 1 upon n square. So if we take it as in the minus, then greater the value of n, greater will be the energy of the orbit. And we can also say that this negative sign signifies that the stability refers to the state of zero energy, where if the n becomes the infinity. So that can also be considered. In the simple term, you can also understand that if the value of n, energy will be more. Now, Bohr theory can also be applied to the ions containing only one electron. That means He positive, when you will remove one electron, then He will also have one electron. Li2 positive will have one electron. Lithium configuration is 1s2 2s1. So if two electrons will be removed, it will become 1s1 configuration like that of hydrogen. So ions having one electron, you can still apply Bohr's theory or Bohr's formulas using a slight variation, that is En is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 z square by n square, where z is the atomic number of the element. Suppose you are taking lithium, then that will become 3. And for the radius, you can use the formula Rn is equal to 52.9 n square, that is the orbit number, upon z. Z is again the atomic number. So if you are taking helium, then it will become 2, or lithium it will be 3, like that. So that was also success of Bohr's theory, that we can apply this for other elements with one electron system. Then when we are talking about MVR is equal to NH by 2 pi, we can also calculate velocity of electrons moving in these orbits. So that was the success of the Bohr's model of an atom, that the many information regarding the electron and the orbit, which are taken as stationary states, was given. The success of the Bohr model is because he was able to explain the line spectrum of hydrogen. Now, according to the second postulate of Bohr model, you know that energy absorbed or emitted by an electron will be the difference of the two states, that is del E is equal to E2 minus E1. If simply putting the value of E2 or E1 as by the Bohr's only minus RH by N2 square, or you can say final NF square, it is one and the same thing, minus RH of N1 square, then we get this formula del E is equal to RH. You can simplify this, taking the common terms, you will get 1 upon Ni square minus 1 upon NF square. You know the value of RH as 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 joules. So here you can put that and the formula will become like this. Now, if you know that del E you are calculating, then you know that del E is related by Planck's quantum theory as del E is equal to h nu, and nu is equal to, or the frequency is equal to del E by h. So here if you want to find out the frequency of the radiation given by the electron, simply a slight substitution in the formula which we have just reduced, we can get the frequency also. So frequency is equal to del E by h. Del E is equal to RH 1 upon n I square minus 1 upon NF square, and we are putting del E is equal to this, and the rest of the formula is same. So frequency is equal to del E upon h, and this will be equals to RH upon h 1 upon Ni square minus 1 upon NF square. When you know the values, constant values, and if you put all these values and we determine it, like RH value is, you know, that 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 joules. H value, you know, it is 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34. When you put this, you get in terms of this what frequency radiation is emitted. And if you want to give in terms of wave number, then wave number is equal to V by C, that is nu by C, that is frequency by velocity of light. So that can also be given, and if you substitute that, whatever nu you have found divided by velocity, you will get here ultimately Rydberg's constant RH value, which was given by Rydberg. So that exactly comes to the Rydberg's formula by Bohr's concept. Using the Bohr concept of del E is equal to EF minus EI. So we are ultimately reaching to the Rydberg's formula, which was done in the spectroscopy, or you can say the Balmer series is also accounted here, because the Balmer formula is in accordance to the Rydberg's formula. So that was the greatest success of Bohr model, that he was able to explain hydrogen spectrum very well. He was able to explain the frequency of each line of the series of each radiation given in the hydrogen spectrum. So we have gone through all these points, and we can summarize it as, in case of absorption spectra, NF will be greater than NI. In case of emission, NI will be greater than NF, because in absorption E will be positive and in emission E will be negative, that is energy will be negative as it will be given out. Each spectral line, so we can say, is associated with a particular transition. As I have told you, large number of lines are formed. That will be because of there will be many atoms of hydrogen in a sample under investigation. And the brightness or the intensity of a spectral line will depend upon the photons or frequency absorbed or emitted. So all these were very well explained and deduced from the Bohr's model of an atom. So we have seen the Bohr's model of an atom, and let me tell you just one more time the gist of the Bohr model is that Bohr has explained the existence of the stationary orbits with electron revolving around the nucleus, but the quantization of the energy concept was introduced, and when it was introduced, then the energy of the electron in an orbit was fixed. So when an electron leaves its orbit, that energy difference can be given by del E is equal to E2 minus E1, which in corresponding to the explanation of any spectra, taking hydrogen as an example, the frequency or the wave number of the radiation can also be calculated. So that was the overall conceptual Bohr model of hydrogen for hydrogen atom. But though explaining so many points, there are certain limitations or the drawbacks of the Bohr model, as in the sophisticated spectroscopic technique, there was Zeeman and Stark effect observed. Zeeman in the magnetic field and Stark in the electrical field has found that these spectral lines are further splitting into very fine splittings like this, as you can see. So no magnetic field, you can see one line, but when you are applying magnetic field, this one line is again bifurcating, splitting into various lines. So if if one line is related to one difference in energy, then why there are so subsequent more lines are formed? This was not explained by Bohr. That becomes the drawback of the Bohr's model, that he was unable to explain Zeeman effect or the Stark effect. Also, he could not explain the ability of atoms to form molecules by chemical bonds, because this was the theory where he has focused more upon the atomic structure concepts and the deduction about the mathematical expressions related to the hydrogen spectra. So that was all about the Bohr's model. Definitely, children, we are going to continue as we will proceed to eliminate or see up to what extent the drawbacks of the Bohr model was subsequently removed and what is the new model of an atom.